Welcome to Cosmic Motion, an audio program where we discuss motion pictures, good, bad, and ugly, and always interesting throughout the cinematic cosmos. We will be talking about all kinds of elements of this film and will likely spoil some aspects. Please watch the film first, then come back, join our discussion. Colin, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, I'm trying to breathe as fresh of an air I can. So we'll see.
Right on.
Yeah.
Tell the audience a little bit about what you do.
I'm a television editor, lover, and podcaster.
Man about town.
Yeah.
My name's Bill. I write, direct, and edit stuff. This week, we're fortunate enough to have our guest, Jacques Thelemaque. After graduating both USC and UCLA, Jacques secured a 3-picture writing deal with Imagine Entertainment. In 1993, he co-founded the Filmmakers Alliance. As president, he built the Grassroots Collective into an important independent filmmaking community and resource organization with films screening at every major festival in the world. And that's how I know him. He's overseen the production of hundreds of films and developed a wide range of innovative and dynamic filmmaking support programs. In 2004, Jacques and partner Liam Finn formed FA Productions, of which they are co-presidents. Jacques has produced several films, including Shock Television, The Dog Walker, Within, Midnight Movie, and The Revenant, and is co-producer on Brooklyn Reptiles, Audie and the Wolf. He also produced a national ad spot for Coke Zero. He's directed numerous shorts, and again, that feature The Dog Walker, which have all played at festivals around the world. Jacques, we can't list all the things you do because the show would be done by the time we finish. Can you tell us about some of your latest feature scripts?
Yeah, I'm working on a couple of scripts, both of which I had written some time ago and decided to pull them out of the archives and clean them up and get them out in the world. Stuff I'd always wanted to make. But
are they genre or
it's hard to. People often ask me, what kind of films do you make? But it's really hard to describe because they're basically triggered by like personal events in my life that I want to explore and characters that I know, and that can lead to a genre film or it can lead to just sort of a indie shaggy dog film, you know, like it's a pretty broad range, but it's really just more a reflection of me exploring aspects of my life.
Right on. Can you also tell us a little bit about the short film streaming platform you've been working on? Yeah,
we're working on a platform called Burp. And I know a lot of hardcore filmmakers think that's just such a silly name for real films. But the idea is that it's a name we can play with and it's easy to remember and they're short films. And the idea is that the way we're distinguishing ourselves is it's a film platform for filmmakers, like how you can actually make money, how you can build your audience. You know, we'll provide marketing tools instead of sell them to you.
Wow.
Here,
okay.
Go make your film.
So you're looking to help short filmmakers monetize their shorts.
Absolutely. And build an audience and build a fan base for their next level of their filmmaking.
That's great.
Or the next short they want to make, you know, whichever.
You've sold me. I'm interested. Well, let's talk a little bit about how you got into movies when you were a kid. What was something that you saw that inspired you or that you loved that really turned you on to films?
It's interesting because we'll be discussing this when we get to the movie, Camera Buff. But it started like Camera Buff with a camera. My dad had a 8mm camera that he got for, you know, just documenting family stuff.
Yeah.
But he let us play with it, which was unusual for him. He was protective of the things that he thought were of value in the family.
Sure.
But he let us just use the camera and we just started playing with it, all of us, me and my brothers. And I just fell in love with it. But I never thought you could make a life out of it. It was just a fun thing to do, you know.
See, Jacques, what you didn't know at the time is that he had already moved on to 16mm, much like the film. So, you know, you thought it was a special, but really, he said no.
He was just handing you the smaller camera. So when you were making these little films when you were a kid, did you try to make any narrative ones? Were you just documenting the family? What were you doing with that camera?
Yeah, we made silly little movies, you know, little stories. Like Camera Buff, it starts with the process. Like you sort of fall in love with the process. Yeah. Just shooting stuff and editing it and playing with it.
Yeah. Do you have like one of those reel-to-reel things for?
Yeah, that's the only kind they had back then. And then you start thinking about, well, what story I want to tell? But I actually never got to that point with that camera at that period of my life.
Sure.
I didn't start exploring that until I took film more seriously. But at the time, it was just like just having fun using a camera and trying to find different ways to use it and doing stop motion stuff and editing stuff together in a weird way. And,
right on.
You know, whatever. It's just.
Did you see any films when you were around that age that kind of also spurred you forward?
I did. My father, again, my My mother was a very creative person too, but my dad we were in sync in the things that interested us creatively.
Sure.
And my dad loved to watch, back then when I was a kid, it was hard to see independent films or foreign films, but they would show up on PBS, and my dad watched all of them. And that was a time for us to bond.
Oh, cool.
Because nobody else in my family was really very interested in them, but I was interested in the films, but also it was an opportunity to bond with my dad. But we would watch Kurosawa films and whatever it is that they were showing on PBS.
Wow.
That was unique and hard to find anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's great. So when you were making these films, and as you became more interested in using the language of movies, what are aspects that interested you the most? Was it the camera work? Was it putting music to picture? Was it writing a script? What did you sort of become interested in right away?
The storytelling.
Yeah.
So writing the script, but it was just sort of like, how can I tell a story that's compelling?
Yeah.
And because I basically like to do that anyway in conversation. I'm a storyteller. I love to just, launch into stories with complete strangers in the elevator. That was the thing that most drove me to, I started in theater. Actually, I started as an athlete. And when I realized I was not going to go anywhere significant as an athlete, I realized that a big part of being an athlete was performance and your ego. And I was like, where else can I get that sort of thing? So I went into theater, and I realized right away I'm not an actor, but I was fascinated by the other processes, especially directing.
Yeah.
So I started directing theater, and I realized quickly that I think cinematically, it's just different than theater.
Yeah.
And,
totally.
And I had played with camera a lot as a child, and I was like, I want to study film.
Right on.
And then ideas just started coming to me, that I wanted to write down, and stories and different things. So I just, I started writing a script while I applied to film school.
Were you at film school at SC and UCLA, or just?
Yeah, I went to SC first, but I was not in the film program, but I could take a bunch of film classes. And then, but I was mad that I wasn't in the film program. So I applied to UCLA and got in that film program. And then when I got there, it was great because the focus was on writing. Didn't have all the production facilities and resources that USC had.
Right.
But it had a strong writing program,
Right.
really good professors.
Right.
And I could really dive into that. But at one point, one of my writing professors said, "You want to make films, right?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Well, then you should go back to USC." I'm like, "Oh my God, they'll never take me. I've been here."
Wait, your UCLA professor told you to go back to SC?
Yeah, it was Richard Walter, who was actually the brother of the actress Jessica Walter. Remember?
Oh,
her?
wow.
Oh, yeah.
But he was a legendary screenwriting teacher. I hope he's still around and doing well, but I don't know. But anyway, he was great, and he was very energetic and very smart. And he took an interest in what I was doing, and he said, "Yeah, you should go to." And I'm like, "How do I?" He goes, "Oh, I know the people over at USC. I'll write you a letter." I'm like, "You from USC?" And he did, and he got me in. And so
then
I
you
was
also went to SC Film
so
School.
I went to SC in the production
Oh my gosh.
program as I wanted to.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And but by then, I had soured on film school.
Yeah.
I was like, there's so much stuff going on outside of film school. I feel like.
Had you built a family outside, like people that were making films?
Yes, I met people in the film world, and I was a PA on a horror film in San Francisco, and it was such a small production. It was so chaotic that by the end of the production, I was a co-producer.
Holy smokes.
And I mean, it literally was like 5 people in the core.
Cool.
And I don't know, that seemed more interesting and exciting for me. So I went to school, but then I just dropped out because I just this guy, I just wasn't happening for me.
Yeah.
And I was working on a script I was really excited about with one of my professors at UCLA. And she ended up giving it to an agent at William Morris, the script. And then he got me a writing job at Imagine. And then
That's amazing.
Then after I did that job, they offered me the 3-picture deal. So then I was a screenwriter.
Amazing. Were you hanging with Ron and Brian?
Never got to hang with those guys. They had a production executive who ended up running the company at one point, Karen Kayla, and she was my contact there. But
That's amazing. How fitting that we are going to talk about a film where a guy learns that he loves to make movies. So today we're talking about the film Amateur, which translates to amateur, also known as camera buff.
Which, can I comment on that first of all?
Please.
I noticed that right away. I saw the film a long time ago, and there's a lot of things I didn't respond to then, just because I was seeing tons of films that I thought I needed to see. I was learning and in that discovery phase of film.
Yeah.
So watching it now from this perspective was really interesting, and I noticed a lot of things that I hadn't noticed back then. One of them was the title, because I think amateur has a much different meaning and connotation than camera buff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's something much broader being said and at stake with the word amateur.
I think it's a more beautiful title, personally.
It is.
Because, well, obviously amateur has that connotation of not serious, not professional. And yet at the same time, if you look into the meaning of amateur, it is somebody who's doing it for the love of doing it.
That's the way it's used in the film. That it's not that like, oh, you're just a beginner, don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
In the film, it's more used as someone who's doing it because it's not a profession. It's a passion.
It's a passion.
Yeah.
Like the woman from the film festival that he meets.
Yes.
She calls herself an amateur.
Yeah. And the guy talks about his stamps, and the other one has, everybody has their passion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is in this movie.
I love it.
Well, I do feel like camera buff does kind of lend itself to the idea of being obsessed, which also works for this film. But I do agree that amateur is kind of a more eloquent way of looking at it.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe they did change it because of the connotations that the word amateur has to English speakers.
I think that's probably exactly it. And it means something different here than maybe it means there.
Yeah, totally. Well, the movie begins with an opening shot of a hawk killing a chicken. What does that have to do with anything, guys? What are we talking about?
Well, that's a good question. I thought the same thing, and also the wife later on in the movie has a nightmare about the hawk killing the chicken.
Exactly.
And I was like, okay, maybe this is where we'll understand the connection, but it doesn't go any further than that.
They don't get explicit about it, but there's a couple things happening, and I didn't notice this. I read about it. He talks. I think he's at some point looking at a book with the movie Kess in it.
Yeah.
And in that's about a boy training a kestrel bird. So there's the connection there to Ken Loach, who made kitchen sink drum, or still makes them because he's a machine and has been making them for decades. So then...
And that film has a similar shot, does it not?
It might. I haven't seen Kess.
Yeah, I think it does.
I think you don't even need to know about that, because I feel like, at least to me, what it symbolizes is the obsession. The guy going for what he wants is this man who's going to put everything else aside, and maybe I'm reading into it, okay? But just the single-mindedness of this hawk going after this chicken, killing this chicken. The wife has the nightmare about it. She's upset that her husband is obsessed with taking pictures of, now the factory and things like that, after he was supposed to be doing
everything.
Of everything, exactly.
No, I love overwrought analogies. So in this analogy is he is the chicken and his obsession is the hawk. Is that
No, he's the hawk.
okay?
And he is going after this filmmaking thing. It's like it taking over his whole life. So on the show, Jacques, we don't necessarily need to go in narrative order of the movie. We can talk about
we're not necessarily a plot by plot podcast.
Not that guy either.
Yeah, we can talk about any aspect at any time.
Well, what was interesting for me about that and many other aspects of the film is I was always wondering how much of this is autobiographical. He claims it isn't.
How could it not be?
I know. And like that's probably, anyway, I don't know how he got that amazing shot of the hawk coming down on the chicken, but it might be something really personal, that we're not supposed, that's not a universal thing that we're all supposed to understand.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of things in that film that are personal.
Absolutely.
That are from some aspect of his experience. Okay, he wasn't a factory worker or whatever, but but the process of his obsession and sort of the consequence of that obsession, I think, are things probably very similar in his life.
Yeah.
Well, it does sound like he got his start making a number of short documentaries, and I have to imagine that some of them were just kind of a day in the life sort of material. And so at the very least, his process has to be some semblance of born out of what we see on screen. Maybe not exactly, what befalls our main character here, but it does sound like he was kind of doing maybe even industrial short docs early on. So
another thing that maybe the hawk and the chicken represent to some degree is like just capturing life raw as it is, whether you want to look at it as bad or good or unpleasant. This is what it is. And he is going to do that. He's going to show you the smaller man who works at the factory and what it's like for this guy to have to deal with whatever difference that he has physically. And he's just going to be honest about it. In the way that Ken Loach is, or in the way that others.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because it's a perspective of Kieslowski. Like his films are all like that. Like he keeps judgment out as far as possible. It kind of shows all sides, good, bad, whatever, and it's just exploring the dynamic of that issue or that moment or whatever.
Right.
And I think that theme is really obvious in this film, with this filmmaker who is maybe not 100% stand-in for himself, but a reflection of a lot of perspectives of Kieslowski.
Totally.
And he makes that point explicitly in the film. The character
Filip Mosz?
Yes.
Yeah.
He makes that point explicitly, that he's just trying to show that truth.
Right.
But that's a perspective, and it comes with consequences.
Yeah, totally. He buys the camera because his wife's having a baby. So he starts doing all the, my wife's having a baby things, got to shoot every, moment of the baby and yada, yada, yada. But then at work, they say, could you bring your camera in? We want you to document this thing that's going to happen at the factory. Some people are going to come in, they're going to give a talk. Okay, so he starts to do that, and he's not really that interested in it. He doesn't even know how to use his camera very well yet. And so he does that.
There's way too many close-ups.
Yeah. And he's like shooting the pigeons on the windowsill, and he's just like, he doesn't know, he's figuring it out. He's learning how to write with a camera. And so the people come in and he shoots them going into the office to talk, and he doesn't actually shoot the ceremony. He just shoots them going through the door, and then they come out to use the bathroom, and he's shooting that. And then his boss gets angry and said, did you just shoot them going to the bathroom? He's figuring out how to document things, make it interesting. And at the same time, he's kind of slowly becoming more and more obsessed. And I don't want to say that Kieslowski was being disingenuous, but like to say that it isn't autobiographical about a man becoming sort of obsessed with the cinematic process and what movies can do feels like it can't be true. I don't know.
No, I think he was being coy.
Yeah.
And maybe also deflecting.
Right.
Like, I don't want people to start looking at my life and thinking,
right,
that this was the sort of path that I chose. But yeah, of course, all those bigger points, and the transformation,
right,
and slowly finding your voice,
right,
and
exactly, that's what this movie's about. He's finding his voice with that camera, and it's like an awakening. He's waking up in his life, and he thought he was happy. He didn't need anything else. Early on, he says, like, I have my wife, I have my baby, I have my job, I'm fine, I'm happy. And then he gets this camera, and it kind of throws his whole life into chaos.
Well, it's funny because of the way that everyone else around him treats him with the camera. I noticed that about this film is that, every time he has the camera out, it's like people are kind of in awe and reverence of him, even when he hasn't actually really even achieved anything. Like people are talking,
or fear.
Yeah.
But he's getting a reaction.
Right. Yeah.
Like he becomes a meaningful person.
Right.
With the camera.
Yeah. It becomes his identity.
Yeah. Well, do you guys remember the first thing that he shoots with this camera? I actually thought that this was pretty interesting.
It wasn't the baby.
Wasn't the baby.
That's a little later.
I remember him shooting through the portico to the people on the street, and his wife says, "Oh, you should."
So the first time we see the camera, he breaks it out, and there's a group of his coworkers ostensibly and he's kind of showing them the camera, and he kind of decides to shoot the group, but then he ends up kind of panning around, and the final shot that he gets in that first filming essentially is of the television. and there's like a concert
That's
playing.
right.
And
Yeah.
I just thought there was like an interesting contrast there that was, or an absurdity there that was not lost on me. I don't know what it represents,
Oh, totally.
but it's really interesting.
There's
don't
there's a lot of subtle humor throughout the film.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But it's also truthful. Like, I remember being a kid and having a movie camera and shooting the TV. Like, that's what you do
Yeah.
because it's interesting. Your eye goes to that, but you have to learn to make your own
Well,
interesting
Yeah,
images.
it's a visual image
Yeah.
that's already put together. So I'm
Right.
like, oh, this is easy. I'll
Right.
just shoot that.
Totally.
But yeah, and there's a lot of subtlety in the film. That's one of the hallmarks of a Kieslowski film. I mean, I know this film isn't as elegantly made as a lot of his later work, but the subtlety and the complexity is there. And that's why, rediscovering it after all these years was, so cool, because nothing is like clean. Nothing is like, even if his intentions are clean, it's creating consequence and complexity for people around him, or like it's not like
Yeah.
and his own ambitions and actions
Right.
are questionable.
I mean, he's
throughout.
not even necessarily aware of them completely. That's what I also liked.
Yeah,
He's very human, and like when he starts to kind of fall for the woman at the film festival.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on there, buddy? You're married. But I
Exactly.
don't even know if he's completely conscious of what's happening to him.
yeah, and maybe it's a cultural thing. The way men have been allowed to have, and that it's not taken very seriously in the film, sort of like
Right.
a little side thing.
Right.
But I think it is intentionally an indication of how much he's drifting from what he said makes him happy.
Exactly. He's drifting from that family life into this filmmaking life.
Yeah.
Even though he's at the kind of lowest level of whatever that is, it is swallowing him whole. He goes to that film festival and he hears these critics talk about their work, and he's transfixed. One of the critics is a real Polish director who's in the film. I was transfixed. I loved hearing them talk about these kind of quote unquote amateur films and what they meant and what they were trying and who was ambitious and who wasn't. And we can't give anybody a first place prize because none of these are good enough for that. So there won't be a first place prize. It was
That's
hilarious. Yeah.
And I love how the woman later on admitted, those are all garbage, including your film. She says, but you want to encourage people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've wanted to say that as a festival judge.
You should.
These are all pieces of shit, but you guys should keep making them.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, who among us has not been at certain festivals where you go, "Geez, can you just please."
Yeah.
But it's interesting how she kind of everything about his experience, his arc with his camera, is kind of foisted upon him, except for the decision to buy the camera. And I do have to say that they really go out of their way to emphasize just like how much of a cost this was to him personally. They say it's like 2 months of work to afford the thing, and that keeps coming up. And he already off the bat, you get the sense that this has created some kind of a wedge in their marriage, however slight that might be. But there's never a moment that he gets to view this pregnancy or this child that his wife gives him, which is essentially, she later throws it in his face that he asked for this. He never views that pregnancy through like his actual perspective. It feels like it seems like it's always viewed through the lens of that camera, and that is very strange and interesting for sure.
It is strange and interesting, and it's really Kieslowski, even though this is early, like he right away shows that kind of insight into humanity that he shows in his later work, where you see him filming with the camera and doing things with his camera friends, his filmmaking friends. And then you see his wife kind of watching from a distance, and she doesn't say anything, but you can totally see it. Like, this is taking him away from her and from the baby. This is taking him away from that life.
Yeah,
that we
he
were
admits
talking
it
about.
eventually and says he's found a passion that is more important to him than the things he thought were making him happy. Family, her
Right.
child, the house, his job.
Right.
And she sees that threat early on.
Yeah.
And
Way before he does.
Way before he does. And she's not, she doesn't manage those feelings in the healthiest of ways.
Right.
And because all she's going to do is drive him further into it.
Right.
She gets contentious right away.
Right.
She's, don't win when he goes off to his first
Yeah,
festival.
that's great. What did you say when I was leaving?
Don't win.
Yeah.
Because she knew what that would lead to. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting for me, that gray area between passion and obsession, and that it's sort of exploring. And it's like, yeah, I mean, we all want to have meaning in our lives, you know,
Right.
but at what cost?
Right.
And how much of it is stuff that we're making strong, intelligent, conscious decision to do, and how much of it is just pure compulsion.
Right.
I know that when I first got into film making, it was a drug. Like, I didn't think about anything else, you know. Yes, I went out, had fun, dated people, stuff like that, but like, that wasn't where my passion was. It was just stuff I liked doing, but my passion was film, and I thought about it all the time.
Scorsese says something like that. He said that filmmaking is like a drug, like heroin, and the only antidote is more heroin.
Well, I thought it was awesome when they have their, you know, final breakup, and she's walking out, and he looks at it. He makes a camera frame, watching her leave. He's like, "Wow, that's a great shot." Right. And then while she's walking out on him, and
he can't not see now through the lens.
Yeah,
he can't see. It's like the picture that's the poster where it's his head with a big lens on the front. He can't not unsee what he has become.
But at the same time, and you know, maybe it wasn't at the time. So what is this? Is this film? What is this? 80?
79.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe this wasn't such a cliche then as it is now, but certainly that exercise of kind of viewing everything through that square frame with your fingers. I mean, that's almost kind of like a cliche at this point.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And I don't
think
know
it
if
was as much then.
Yeah, probably not. But it is absolutely comical when I mean, she kind of catches him at that last moment, as you say, Jacques.
She goes, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. But I mean, I think that you guys are right. The film is tiptoeing through an interesting gray area. But I'd be interested to ask you about this, Jacques, just given the way that you've described your early filmmaking forays. Because I kind of saw this also as kind of like an allegory for the way that filmmaking can be co-opted by everybody else around you. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
So it felt like, even though this becomes his obsession, this thing that drives him, this movie is also kind of about how like no film is exactly your own, or can be exactly your own in a way, or at the very least about the forces outside of it that are always vying for their say in the process.
Yeah, like the factory leader says, well, what's with the pigeons? Take those out. And he wants him to make some other cuts too, I think.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like
he
gives him
It
notes.
was 4 cuts.
Yeah, but he immediately inserts himself in the producer role, which is like, already I was infuriated with this person. And, you know, he takes on a much more rich or interesting meaning later in the film. But, you know, at the fore, you really get, I mean, so I'm an editor by trade. The worst day that you have on an editing gig, and I'm sure that Bill can relate to this, is notes day. And, you know, if you're lucky, you only have so many of those days. And if you're not lucky, you have that day every day. Already, I was not pleased with hair director or whatever. What is his name now?
Like the director.
Yeah.
They keep calling him the director.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Let's call him the director.
In a very cool and organic way, it explores all of the people who can impinge on the filmmaking process.
Yeah.
You know, sort of some sort of censorship, you know, from the powers that be, you know, could, like a producer, and control, but also like how it affects the subjects and how it affects, you know, the people who are helping you. Like at one point when he's frustrated with everything after he's had the talk with the director, he ruins that whole film.
Yeah.
And the guy he works with, his buddy or assistant,
Angry.
whatever is really upset because he's invested in this. He's the crew.
Yeah.
And, you
he
know,
believes
like,
in him. He believes in the work.
But it's his film too. You know, he helped make it happen.
Yeah.
So he's part of the process. So he was really devastated by that. So when you're making a film, even if you're just one guy holding the camera, there's so many other factors that come into play.
Yeah.
And so many other people that are affected unless you're just shooting nature.
100%.
It doesn't stop the film to explore. That's
it's
just
subtle.
organically part of
Yeah.
the process.
Well, let's talk about Filip Mosz, the main character, played by Jerzy Stuhr. He actually just passed away in July of 2024.
Oh my God.
Pour one out.
I think that he is remarkable in this role. I love his face. I love his eyes. He's so expressive. There's a kind of innocence and genuine quality to him. You immediately empathize with him. His eyes are kind of wide open and curious. And so when he embraces the camera, he really goes into it. He falls into this filmmaking thing. Another thing I should say is that he co-wrote the film with Kieslowski.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and he would later go on to write and direct his own films, such as Love Stories and I'm going to murder this pronunciation and any Polish name that I read. Tician Sicia Messini from 1999.
Nailed it.
He also appears in Kieslowski's Blind Chance from 1987, if you're familiar with that film. So yeah, I loved the actor. I loved his performance.
Yeah, I thought he was great too. He was like, and the enthusiasm. Well, the very beginning when he's crying at the birth of his baby, it's so touching. And but when he gets more obsessed with the camera, with the whole filmmaking process, he captures this kind of intensity, but like distance. You know, like he's now watching his life, more than participating in it. And
that's a good way to put it.
You can see that in the actor's performance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought he was awesome. He was compelling and honest, and he felt so real. And just the way he looks too, like he looks like an everyman. He looks, you know,
he does have the perfect face for this character. And you're right. As the film goes on, he carries himself with a different kind of poise and confidence, and even his body language changes. And it's not to suggest that he's become cocky or power hungry or whatever, but it definitely does impart a change, and he does that without saying anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's perhaps a bit of hubris on the part of us filmmakers, but you know, once you actually sort of find your voice and start making films, you do start to take on a sense of purpose. Like,
absolutely,
there's a reason I'm on this planet doing this thing, and it's important, and people have to hear my stories, and they have to be I have to execute them at a certain level, and like whatever. It just all feels like it's your sense of purpose all of a sudden.
Right. Or at least the anxiety of the process has gone away, and you have more of a purpose, and you can work with that behind your back, and it, you know, maybe that I don't know, buys some kind of a confidence or a dignity or whatever you want to call that. But he certainly seems to embody it towards the end of the film.
Yeah, I think it's speaking to any passion where you take on a role that is larger than just yourself. It's something that's bigger. It's a bigger part of the world, the cosmos. You know, if you're a businessman or you're a guitar player or whatever it is, you start to see your place in the world and how you can contribute in a big way.
Yeah, especially when you've seen even any small measure of success at doing that thing, which you know he does,
and especially with film, because it lasts after you. It's like if you're doing a concert or a theater show, unless somebody's recording it, that's it.
Yeah,
it's pretty ephemeral.
Yeah,
and he literally shows us that with his friend's mother, who's in the window. His friend drives up he shoots his friend doing his job, driving the truck. And then his friend later, what's that?
The hearse.
Yeah.
The hearse. The hearse.
I guess he's works for the
that's
funeral.
Right. Yeah. Something. Mortuary, somebody. And then his friend asks him to see the film again later after his mother passes. And this is where it's something that I remember realizing as a child when I was filming, how I'm capturing time and how strange that is and how wonderful that is. And there it is. We can go back and we can watch it again and again and again. And I think when that's what the movie is kind of communicating, like when his friend's mother is captured, you know, before her death, she dies. And then the friend watches it. He says, "It's beautiful. What you shot was beautiful."
Well, that was one of the moments in the film that I felt like was without irony or complexity. It was just his truth.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And this is Kieslowski speaking through this character.
Right.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, all these other things exist, all these other problems and complications, but the actual thing of recording human behavior and being able to experience it over and over again is a beautiful thing.
And that maybe it's worth all of those complications. Maybe it's worth having the problems with family or friends or your boss, because it's bigger than you are.
Well, that's what's lovely about the film is it's asking that question, but it's not answering it necessarily.
Right.
It's just maybe it is. Let's
positing.
Explore that idea.
Yeah.
And in fact, the I don't want to get ahead of ourselves talking about the end, but the trajectory of the film is really interesting, because he has that moment when he destroys the film that he's suddenly aware of what it's cost and all the complications and all that. He has that talk with the director, which for me, in a funny way, reminded me of that scene from Network when Ned Beatty comes in and explain, what's his name?
In the office?
Yeah.
When he's yelling at him?
Yeah.
William Forsythe? Is that the actor?
No. Who is he?
You're thinking about broadcast news.
No. I'm thinking about...
Is Forsythe in that?
Yeah, I think his name's William Forsythe. You're talking about the main character, the guy who says... open your windows and shout.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, he's William Holden's the main character, really.
Holden is the main character, but Ned Beatty yells. I thought you were talking about him yelling at that one guy.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he brings him into the boardroom.
Yeah.
And he explains to him, how the world works, essentially. And it's like religion for that guy. He suddenly realizes, I've been, doing it this way, and now it's... And it's really it's kind of a very funny scene for me.
I totally murdered his name. His name's Peter Finch.
Peter Finch.
He plays Howard Beale.
Yeah, Howard Beale.
I don't know where I got that other. Sorry.
Forsythe is he's mostly a character actor, but he did a lot of direct-to-video stuff as well. In his time.
Wow.
Yeah. But he anyway, we can have a whole podcast on old William Forsythe.
Anyway, it had a similar feel to me. The director takes him out, explains this is how the world works, and then he has this conversion. But it lasts briefly, he destroys the film and the whole trajectory of his filmmaking thing sort of slows a little bit. But then it ends with that amazing ending where he
points the camera at himself. Which is the ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, to your guys' point, it's the whole film is struggling with whether film can actually capture, whether it can actually reflect the truth. And certainly it can record moments in time, but it doesn't consider context, and that's kind of what that ending, especially that moment, is confronting. Especially because you can't, if you consider the context of the film, there's also the whole Soviet surveillance state aspect of this thing, which is actually really deeply ingrained in the film. We can get into that later, but I mean, I guess the whole movie's trajectory reflects the question whether objective truth can be, portrayed through images under an oppressive system, whether that's your boss or a relationship that's not working for you, or a
producer,
or friendships that have a certain expectation of your work, or a producer. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really funny that, I don't know a lot about post-revolution Poland communist politics, but even though my world or our world is so different from Poland at that time, it's also not that different from Poland at that time. I mean, what we're talking about that factory director versus a producer or a studio.
Yeah.
Or I mean, it's we're dealing with a lot of the same questions of how do we achieve the truth we want to achieve with censorship or money, or all the things that are going to influence that piece that you make.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the things that are obvious that it's during the communist era is that there's a union representative at everything.
Right.
And everything is so intertwined. Your creative endeavors are intertwined with, sort of the social priorities of the, community. And then the fact that a film about a plant's 25th anniversary would be in a film festival. I think that's sort of a communist era thing.
Yeah. Do you think that Kieslowski is laughing about that?
I think so, totally.
Yeah.
I think he's like, oh my God, this is playing in a film festival.
Yeah.
Well, and he's probably aware that the people that would enforce those ideals and norms, that would go right over their head, probably.
Yes, and probably did.
Yeah.
I think the film is, and we've talked about this to some degree, but I love the way it's directed. I mean, even though, yes, it's earlier Kieslowski, whatever, it's directed with a cinematic hand, but also a light touch. He's not hitting you over the head. He's not trying to show you a lot of style to wow you or dazzle you. And yet there is style, and there is a point of view, and he is making points, and he is exploring ideas, like you said, Jacques, about the nature of filmmaking and how it affects our lives and how we gain greater meaning from it and how that becomes part of a collective meaning It's not just you anymore. It's all the people that worked on it, and how we capture time and moments, and what that means for the future, for posterity.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how he integrated all of these ideas and explored all these themes so effortlessly, it seems. You know, it was just part of the story of this guy.
Yeah.
Finds a camera and becomes obsessed and makes a few films.
A factory worker with an 8mm camera.
In the process of that, he's exploring all of these things, even, you know, relationship dynamics and friendships, and, you know, what your priorities are when you have a passion. You know, I mean, I half expected him to miss his friend's mother's funeral because he's shooting something.
Yeah.
He did show up late, but, you know, it's just sort of exploring all these different things in the subtlest of ways. And there is, like, I agree with you, there's style there, but it's like he's integrated the style into the subject matter. Like he finds moments to stylize, but what they do is bring forward the overall structure and theme of the film. You know, it's not like things are composed and they jump out at you in a way that's inorganic to the whole film.
That would probably be more of a Hollywood thing to do, you know?
Oh, yeah. In Hollywood, he would have had this moment where he turns to the mirror and he says, "What is filmmaking really?"
Who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I now that I have a camera?
Yeah. And I also think that it's to your point, Jacques, it's refreshing how subtle it was, that the movie is also exploring this theme of just how the camera, by its mere presence, creates a situation of unreality for everyone around you, you know, essentially. I mean, just having it in your hand leads to this, I don't know, this weird psychology that we don't address enough. We still, you know, you don't hear about it talked about today, certainly not in the West all that much. But just the psychology of having a camera in the room, even if it's not recording, it really is I think that film is really prescient in that regard. You really don't see movies tackle that subject.
Yeah, and it's funny that you don't, because it's pervasive now.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Everybody has a camera. You know, if they have their phone, they have a camera, and they're recording everything. And you see people, you know, not just selfies, but whatever. They're just always pointing the camera to everything.
Yeah. Bill's always TikTok dancing.
I am.
He's always dancing for TikTok.
I do that. What's the thing with the arms?
Yeah.
What is that called?
Dabbing.
Dabbing?
He's always dabbing.
I'm always dabbing. That's my favorite dance.
I've been missing all
No.
Oh.
But no, but I mean, you're right. It is so prevalent now, and yeah, it seems like we are rife for another camera buff kind of film to come out, and yet I don't see one on the horizon or anyone.
I mean, one that I saw that kind of relates and it is still very different. It's called Real Life, and it was Albert Brooks. Have you guys ever seen that movie? It came out around the same time, and basically it was a film that was taking the reality TV format, which was in its infancy, and I mean like early infancy, and basically it's about this reality show and this family that are being recorded all the time and how that affects them and things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you would think that there would be a plethora of films, especially now. I mean, I guess the Truman Show to some degree.
Maybe it's because, and this film speaks to this fact, but maybe it's because it can be uncomfortable to confront that reality and that fact that psychology does that manipulation of your psychology does exist when a camera's in the room.
Well, and what I would wonder now is, because as Jacques said, we all have cameras on our phones, we're always filming each other and ourselves all the time. Is there any difference between the performer and the person you are inside anymore? Has that just disappeared? Are you always performing? Is it always a conscious performance? Was it always a conscious performance before that, or is it even more so now?
I feel like most of the things that we put out there are performance, you know, at least social media wise. I feel like there's very little legitimacy or reality to anybody's social media life versus their actual real life. Just by virtue of the fact that you're only going to get the snapshots and you get to curate those snapshots.
Right.
So to me, even if you are just being your natural self in your videos, what you choose to shoot alone really matters.
But now it's just that much more common, whereas before, I suppose it was through letters, through the written word, or whatever, like where we would present our lives however we wanted to others.
Right.
But now we're always taking pictures of ourselves, taking videos of each other, and always conscious that this is how they are going to see me. I need to put on some kind of air of whatever I want to portray.
Yeah, I mean, taking it back to the film, there's a lot of exploration of perspective. Like, you're seeing things from a particular perspective. Again, back to your comment, Colin, about like, can we really get truth from, just 'cause the minute you point the camera somewhere, it's a perspective.
Right.
And the minute you aim your smartphone at something, it's a perspective, and then you edit it and then you put filters on it, and and then nothing is actually as it is. And film even itself is the medium of it, it's two-dimensional. It's like it's an
illusion.
It has no peripheral vision, like it's just is what it is. So it's a perspective. And so we're always, putting out our various perspectives.
Right.
And you would think that would create an incredible breadth of, of images and ideas and things but it's shocking to me how much of it all seems exactly the same. How many little films I see on social media that just look like 100 others just like it.
Yeah. And largely are imitating each other.
Yeah, and even worse in the filmmaking universe, like it's rare when you see a film that you're like, I have not seen this before. I've not been made to feel this way by a film before.
Well, maybe to run with what you're saying, Jacques. I mean, maybe that's to bring it back to this film. I mean, it's just the scarcity of even the film stock. Versus like our availability of, there's nothing but recording medium now. Whereas like this movie goes to great lengths to point out that, hey, providing somebody with film is usually all they need. It's like all the incentive they need to make whatever you ask them to. And at least in his case, it's like the director of the film festival says, hey, we'll pay for the film. Okay, I'll do it. It's doesn't take a lot of arm twisting, but yeah, now, I mean, there is no end to the actual medium itself. I mean, the cloud extends, as far as what Silicon Valley's servers extend or whatever it is, which is, indefinite. Well, can we talk about some of these, some of the cast?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I actually think that as good as old Jerzy is, and he is quite good, I think his wife Irka, played by Malgorzata Zabkowska.
I knew it.
Zabkowska. I'm going to try that again. Malgorzata Zabkowska.
There you go.
She's still with us?
Ooh, good question.
Filip Mosz.
Is she? Does she still hail? Does she still walk the planet? It appears that she does. She still works. No, 2009. That's her last credit. Well, she's quite good. She has an ability to say a lot without saying much at all. And I don't know. She's got this kind of hangdog expression throughout the whole film, but it really works. And she's not, yes, I guess I will say a kind of a weakness for me of the film is just how quickly she goes from zero to don't win.
Yeah, I had a little issue with that too. Like she is unhappy with him almost the minute he picks up the camera.
Now, I guess we can assume that there's some backstory there that we're not privy to.
Are you having an issue with the writing or with the character? Like, do you disagree with the character? I guess what I'm asking is it a flaw in the writing, or is it a flaw in that you don't like what the character does?
Yeah, and it might be a little of both, or the editing or whatever, because she goes from she immediately looks hostile. She doesn't look like confused, like, where's this going? She's hostile. They have a long shot of her when he's first picking up the camera, where she's just
she at the very least is immediately uncomfortable. She's
uncomfortable, but I thought I really appreciated the way that they kind of heated up the way with her.
I guess I would say I would like to have seen maybe one or two moments where he is kind of inappropriately wielding the camera.
Yeah, like at the dinner table or something. Put that away. We're eating.
Because it does feel like she goes from slightly uncomfortable to just knowing that this is going to, kind of dominate his life.
Yeah.
In a way that feels slightly unnatural. And that, I guess, I would blame either the script or the editing. We don't know. There might be something on the cutting room floor that we're missing there. And I'm not saying that they aren't believable or organic. Their performances are both great. I believe they're dynamic when they're in it. I've never seen a feces smearing sequence that's so effective. But that being said, I do wish we would have had, maybe one or two more moments where we see this behavior evolve. We can kind of assume it's there, and we can also assume that they have something in their past. Hell, maybe this guy had like a Hummel figurine collection that went too far. We don't know, but
also at one point I thought of this because it wasn't a well-known or much discussed subject at the time, was postpartum depression.
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
sure.
So she kind of at one point she sort of breaks down. He says like, "What's wrong?" She says,
great point.
I don't know.
Right.
And I thought, oh man, she's going through like a postpartum.
Well, but that probably, and also, just having a baby at all is probably just an extraordinary physical and emotional feat. And
Right.
then also, her husband isn't paying enough attention. Like he's off with his camera doing his thing.
No, yeah, that's one thing. Like you never see a single scene of him interacting in any meaningful way with the baby. He tries to pick it up once, and she gets mad at him and says, "No, give it to me." But like he doesn't spend any time. He doesn't try to engage, not even once in the whole meal.
Yeah. Well, and it also maybe comes back to something that you were talking about earlier, Jacques, where, and this pertains to another character, actually one of my favorite characters, who's not the director, but kind of his immediate supervisor.
Oh yeah, I like him.
Is in the film, his name's Osich. His real name is Jerzy Nowak. And that guy is oddly encouraging, but also really open about how lonely he is and how prideful he is of Philip's accomplishments.
Yeah, he's a great character.
But he alludes to this, you guys were talking about how they all might make mention of these things that they have in their life, whether it's stamp collecting or whatever it is. And he kind of highlights the importance of that. And I guess maybe, I don't know if the film is deliberately going out of its way to do this, but it feels like Irka doesn't have anything but the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's true too. Yeah. Women's roles are obviously much more limited here at this time and in this place.
right.
And by the way, I thought he was like a stamp collector, like stamps you put on an envelope, but apparently it's stamp, those
The ink stamps.
ink stamps.
Oh, I don't think I made that connection.
I didn't realize that.
Remember, he puts it on it. He's playing with one.
That's right.
And then he
puts it on his head.
forehead, yeah.
I like that character also because he takes the fall for Philip's filmmaking. Remember?
Yes.
He gets in trouble at the factory, says, well, now we're going to have to, you made this film that's upset some people. Now we're going to have to let him go. Let Stanislaw Osich go. And Osich is not, he like totally is understanding. He says, don't worry about it. I'm at the end of my career. I'll be fine. He's not upset.
And I'm proud of you. He says he's proud to
he's like an angel.
Yeah. But I thought that was interesting too, the way Kieslowski decided to explore the consequence of, your choice, your choices, your filmmaking creative choices.
They have real world consequences.
They have real world consequences, and you may not even, you can say, well, I'm willing to take responsibility for and the character does say that at one point. I'll take 100%. You may be willing to, but you may not have control over how it all falls down.
That's true.
And who becomes a victim of what you've chosen to do.
I read something that he said about that, or it was said of him pertaining to that. But they were saying that the movie's kind of resonant when you realize that when the chief is talking about what could and couldn't be shown, when he's particularly he's talking about the documentary about the little person who works at the factory. Apparently that's supposed to be kind of a stand-in for like the higher authorities that Kieslowski probably would have faced in his formative years as a filmmaker, when creative expression was really more heavily censored by the state. And I thought that was an interesting way to view this through. But it didn't take away from also the reality of just exploring what filmmaking means as well, So I think that this movie contains multitudes.
Well, it does. And in that film that he makes about the worker, both has negative and positive implications. I mean, his friend gets fired, and at the same time, the guy he made it about is so emotional when he's watching it. He has to walk away from it, and he goes to him and asks him what's wrong, and he says, "It's so beautiful. I couldn't stay and watch it because I was overcome with emotion." And it's like, oh, this guy's he's so appreciative of this film that's been made about him to show.
Which, if I was a filmmaker, that alone would bring me satisfaction.
That's it.
Like, who cares
what anybody thinks? Yeah.
Well, and I kept waiting for somebody to walk out of the room and say, you know, this doesn't capture my reality, or this doesn't capture my whatever, but that's not what happens. So
right.
It's pretty interesting.
I guess this is more suggested, if at all, and maybe I'm reading into it, but you know, the films that our central character Philip makes are not extraordinary, and yet the people that watch them imbue them with their own meanings from their perspective, whether it's the little guy at the factory or it's the workers or whoever. They all draw value from it. It gives something to each of them, and so he's doing a positive thing, even though he is not the most amazing. And I wonder if Kieslowski is saying that about himself. He's like, look, you know, I'm trying here, but I'm not the genius that you think I am. I'm just pointing the camera at things and trying to tell stories.
Well, there's a little bit of a being there quality to it. Like when you're watching the films, like the people are reading all these things into it and having these experiences and emotions, and they're very simple. Like there's nothing really overtly artistic about them.
Right.
But people are having strong reactions.
I loved the shot of the pigeons in the window. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, that actually, though, that brings me to another character, and I'd be interested to hear what your guys' thoughts on her was. But the kind of the film director of the Amateur Film Festival, the actress's name's I believe it's Eva Pokus.
Yes.
And her character's name is Anna
the one who kisses him.
Yes.
Lodorczyk.
And it seems like she is. It seems like she has an agenda there, certainly, and it almost seems like it's just, I don't know, what is her angle?
I think her angle, I mean, and maybe I'm being innocent about it. I don't think I am. I think it's encouragement. I think she is one of the people that sees what he makes, and it's not very good, and she says, keep going, keep making stuff, and that's everything.
She almost feels like Deus Ex Machina, because it's like suddenly there's this person who's interested in your work. Do we even get a sense of like how that film about the anniversary of their company like actually made waves in public? You know, like how did that actually capture the attention of like some director?
I think he sent it. I think he sent it, didn't he? I think his director was trying to get him to cut certain things, and he on his own maybe sent it to a festival that he heard about. That.
And she came to visit him at the office.
Yes,
she comes, and you know.
But I think she was very seductive.
Yes.
And so she was a whole other world seducing him.
Right.
And she represented all that, the good and the bad.
Glamour.
Yeah, she was glamour, she was beautiful. She was encouraging, but she was sexy. But she was not moored to anything. She said it herself, like she's never been able to be connected to anything or anyone for any long period of time, which is very, very much part of the artist's life. And
also, it actually reminds me of the Faye Dunaway character in Network.
Yes, exactly.
There's a kind of like, is he commenting about people in media who don't connect with their own lives as much as they do with whatever work they're doing?
Well, it's definitely a potential element if you enter into that world. And so, and there's a seductiveness to that even. I don't know what it's been like for you, but for me in this world of, you know, filmmakers and you know, carny type people. There's a lot of short-term intensity. Yeah, that comes and goes, and that's
a good way of putting it.
And it's seductive. And if you have emotional ADD, you know, it's kind of it suits you. You know, you just go from this to that to this to that, all these different experiences, and it's a seductive world. And I think it's the world that Kieslowski was living in. So he created this character that's sort of a representation of that. You know, it can be really fun and engaging and beautiful and even profound, but it's not like being at home with Irenka or whatever. Right. Is that how you say her name? Irka. Irka and the baby and the, you know, and the quiet life, which they've mentioned a few times in the movie.
Yeah. Although there was something about her character, and maybe it's this final shot that we have, and it's actually one of my favorite shots in the movie, where she's actually walking out of the cafe, and he's kind of sitting there by himself. We have this great kind of wide shot of her walking out, and the rest of the patrons of the restaurant are kind of on the periphery, but all the tables that are kind of in your line of sight are just empty. And it kind of made me wonder if the movie's also trying to question the loneliness of being a filmmaker, because there is kind of an inherent loneliness at being at the helm of a film. I have to imagine you guys can probably speak more to this than I can, but I imagine if you have a singular enough vision, or if enough pressure has been put on your shoulders, that can be a lonely feeling. But
yeah, I think there's truth to that. I think it has to do both with that singular passion idea that we're talking about behind any kind of passion, and that taking you away from the family life, the normal life, and also particularly with filmmaking, where you are always observing. Any kind of artist is always observing, and so that immediately kind of puts some distance between you and whatever situation you're actually living.
Right, between you and the subject.
Right. So absolutely. Yeah, I liked Ewa Pukas. I thought that was an interesting character, and yet another subtle way to show us how being a filmmaker can affect you and change your life in ways that you don't immediately understand.
Or
or
creative
grasp.
in general. There's a lot of themes in this that are just analogous to any kind of creative lifestyle.
Right.
Yep. 100%.
What was going on? Let's talk about that Pepsi drinking.
Yeah, I think
Can
you
we
guys
know?
you guys know more about this than I do. So let me sit back and hear what you guys have to say.
Just being generous to the film, I believe that happens while he's waiting for the jury to kind of weigh in on whether his film.
Yeah, so he's anxious.
Yeah. So, and I do want to give the film its credit and say that's what it was, but holy Christ. It's the least appetizing ingestion of beverage.
Now, was he belching in between? Because it was going pretty hard at those swigs.
No, he's just kind of
he chugs for a bit and he puts down for a second, then he chugs for a bit, but it goes on, and you're like, it's like he was trying to finish the bottle. But
do you think his stomach was
do it.
just painfully expanding?
I don't think he could do it exactly.
I think it was just a character bit that the actor just like, I'm anxious and this is how I'm going to show it. Just like trying to power down this Pepsi.
And this is going to sound mean, and that's usually my MO, so I'm happy to wear it. But like this actor, Jerzy.
Let's call him Jerzy.
Stuhr. Has a very kind of catfishy face, like very fishy lips. And so he's literally kind of like, the image is upsetting. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's a lot. And also he's hiccuping a lot, or is that burping? What is that?
Oh,
Remember?
That's when he gets nervous. He starts to hiccup.
Okay.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes,
Yeah.
that's a little motif throughout the film.
Comes out.
But does he ever get a bout of the hiccups when he's not been drinking? And then by drinking, I don't mean communist Pepsi or whatever we decided to call it.
I don't think it's a drunkenness thing. I think it's a nervous tick that he has.
Yeah, because he does it at the beginning. He's definitely not drunk.
Right.
And then he does it conspicuously at the end.
Yeah.
Not the end, but some point toward the end when we're just framed on just him.
Right.
I think maybe he also might do it when he upsets his what, for lack of a better description, we'll call him his protege, his coworker who's kind of working with him. I think after he hurls the film out of the off the spool there, I think then he has a little hiccup there too. So maybe it's also when he's confronting the potential consequences of his choices. I don't know.
Just anxiety. I think it's an anxiety thing. Yeah.
Oh, I wonder. This to me was very much a Kieslowski. He was saying something. Is when his assistant, I don't remember his name, the guy who's his buddy in filmmaking, suggests, why don't we shoot the feet? And then we'll edit it. And it's a great idea.
Yeah,
it is.
Right. Yeah.
And then he just dismisses it. No, silly.
Right.
He's like, he says, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. 100% he's commenting on that. 100%. Yeah.
Well, also instructive in that is like how taken he is. Just like, going along with the editing thing, because that's essentially what his friend is asking him to do. Edit this in.
Yeah.
Get an insert shot and edit it in.
Yeah, his friend is thinking more cinematically than he is.
Yeah. But but I thought it was also pretty instructive when he does make like a simple edit between, I think it's like the guys in the boardroom and sitting in the audience. And he literally plays it back and forth.
Yeah, he's so proud of it.
Like 10 times for his poor wife.
There's the thing. And here's the guy watching.
Here's
There's the thing.
There's the guy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I have when I was a PA, I was on a set, and I'm just a PA, and the director was trying to make a shot work that wasn't working, and I'm just watching. And finally, I did the thing PAs are not
supposed to do.
Yeah, I said, "What if you do this?" And I got darts from everybody on the set. And the director goes, "Thank you, but I can figure this out for myself." I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get fired." And then 2 seconds later, the director goes, "Actually, thank you. That's a good idea." And then he does what I said.
Oh wow,
I was
that's
like,
funny.
that was close.
That's rare.
If he hated it, and if he didn't do that, the producer probably would have pulled me aside later.
Get rid of that Jacques kid.
Yeah, and said, "Dude, you
gotta go.
You gotta go, or you just don't ever open your mouth again, or you're gonna get."
Yeah.
So he saved me, the producer. I mean, the director. But,
That's
funny.
rare.
That's funny.
But you can't do that. You'll get. That's ridiculous.
Right.
Like what happened in the movie.
Right.
At the very least, the first AD is going to crack the whip hard.
Yeah. That's who would have come down. That was my boss.
Yeah, that's funny. When we were talking about earlier about how I feel like Urca kind of goes from 0 to 50 a little bit on his obsession.
Sure.
I guess those are the kind of moments, like that editing sequence where, he's way too taken with this very simple feat. I could have used maybe 3 or 4 more of those where she's just made to be subjected to this, and like maybe we can organically arrive at this place where she's willing to shout at him as he's going off on a train, "Don't win." But that's a minor gripe.
I'm going to stick with my position. I respect your guys' evaluation of that. I think he handled it fine. And
Okay.
I was with it because I felt like he was doing it at first through glances and facial reactions, and then eventually verbally when she's yelling at him on the train, and then eventually when she's just yelling at him straight on in an argument. And I was like, okay, I understand exactly where this came from and why it happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a minor complaint. I think coming from Colin as well as me, it was just like, she gets mad
You guys
awfully
hate
fast.
Kieslowski. I understand.
Yes, that's what we're saying.
You guys hate Krzysztof.
Just put the Decalogue in the trash now. No, and look, it really is such a fine line because I also don't want them to like over explain it,
Yeah,
exactly.
because that would be the worst. So,
Exactly.
I don't know quite what I want. There's a part of me that feels like I didn't get it, but it is such a minor gripe. This movie is so thoughtfully made. It's hard to be.
Yeah. And there was so much in it that I related to personally. The journey and first starting with the process and then, struggling to find an appropriate subject. And then what are you trying to say about that
Exactly.
subject?
Starting to understand the meaning behind what you're doing.
Yeah. There's so many levels to your growth as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You might be in love with the process first, then you have a great story, but like, what's the story saying? And then how are you going to tell the story? What is your voice? All that stuff. And so you're thinking all these different levels, but it takes time to get there, and it's a journey. And then the whole thing of the passion. At first, it's like you're deeply passionate about it, but that passion comes and goes. Like at my age now, sometimes I'm like, why am I even making films? It's like, it's not changing anybody's life and whatever,
Right.
But then I'll see a great film, or I'll create something myself that I feel really good about, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's why.
It changes your life.
Yeah, but it's a journey, and so there were many things in that journey that touched me, but also just like in the interpersonal relationships and in his relationship with his wife. I was married when I started getting into independent film, and I'm in independent film because of my wife.
Yeah.
So she was very supportive, of course. She was an actress, but she was very much into independent films, not interested in my stupid studio writing jobs. We still had these. It was still a battle because she still wanted me to be a participant in our marriage,
Of course.
Right.
and I felt like doing all this filmmaking stuff was,
right.
this is our marriage, is
Right.
this
Part of it. Yeah.
It's like, well, no, it's other things too.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like
Right.
a family and like this and that, and I just wasn't interested in any of that. I was interested in our marriage, in how it worked in relationship to our filmmaking.
Yeah.
And she was often threatened by that obsession, and she was also threatened, like, even if I went through one period where I was put on a lot of weight, which I don't normally do, but I did at that time. And I decided I needed to work out, and I became equally obsessive about that.
Yeah.
And at first she was like, wow, it's great. You're taking care. And then she was like, come on,
Right.
stop.
Right.
And so when you're in a relationship, any kind of obsessive, again, I'm using passion, obsession sort of interchangeably.
Right.
But anything that just pulls all of your attention and focus toward it is going to feel threatening to your partner.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, that helps you understand who you are.
Yeah.
It helps you define yourself within the space that you're in and gives meaning to your life.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, we can create and do things we're passionate about with some balance, but it's hard for some of us. Like, there's a lot of things I just won't do unless I'm slightly obsessed about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll think about it. Oh, that's kind of cool, but I won't really throw myself in 100%.
Well, to me, obsession is the universe telling you this is the thing. This is what you should be doing. This is what you should be spending time on. This is what you should be putting your effort, energy, time.
That's what those of us who are obsessed like to tell ourselves.
I don't know what you're talking
The
about.
universe.
Colin, did you have something to say?
No, I'm not bailing you. Well, actually, so this actually kind of leads to an interesting question. Have either of you guys ever done the equivalent of turning the camera on yourself, as it were? Because I mean, I guess we could that final moment of the film could allegorically mean a lot of things. But
What did it mean for you?
Yeah, what did it mean for you guys?
I mean, for me, it meant that he never had a sense of what it was to be a subject, and this was his attempt to try and experience that. And maybe try and connect with the people who he's driven a wedge between because of the fact that he's never had that experience or had that feeling. That's what I take as the literal thing that's happening there. Symbolically, it could mean a lot of things. I mean, literally, the idea, the visual of turning the camera on yourself is, like turning the gun on yourself. But whether the filmmaker's trying to say that, he feels so desperate that, this is like kind of some kind of an allegory for suicide or something. I doubt that.
No,
But,
I don't think so either.
But I did get the sense that, he just never knew what it felt like to be a subject. And he needed to know. I don't know. How did you guys feel about it?
Well, for me, it was, again, an exploration of perspective. And I think it's like him coming to understand, first of all, that he needs to do this, sort of embracing his obsession, passion, whatever you want to call it. But also there's a lot of egotism involved in feeling like you have to create something as a creator. Like, this means something, this is important. And so I feel like he's just sort of giving into all of that and just like, this is my perspective. This is my story. This is the thing I have to do.
Yeah.
And I guess there's no raw or pure way to do it than just to point the camera at yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what he had come to. That's sort of the way I looked at it.
Yeah, and I think I agree. Kieslowski is saying, and the character is realizing that it all comes down to whatever I do with this, it's somehow a reflection of me.
Yeah,
it's somehow it's somehow going to show some truth about
Yeah.
me, and not only that that is the ultimate in figuring out what to shoot and how to shoot it, is to be truthful about oneself, no matter what their story is, or whatever piece of cinema that they're going to make. At the same time, it's probably also commenting on whatever egotism is wrapped up in that. It might be saying, this is a bit of a selfish process, so you need to decide whether you're going to take it or leave it.
Yeah, but I don't think those two ideas that you just articulated are separate from each other.
No, I'm saying they're tied.
Yeah.
They're tied together. Yeah. I'm saying that it is inherently, to be artistic is in any way, is somehow inherently selfish in some way. And it is always personal, no matter what you do. So,
But therein lies the purity of the vision.
right.
Yeah. If you're honest about the things that you're exploring, if you're honest about the things that you're showing about yourself, if you're honest about the perspective you're choosing to take and not trying to just manipulate people's feelings.
Right. Which we have a lot of in commercial cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Kieslowski is taking it that seriously. I mean, you look at his films and they're not showy, but they're always honest. And they're always looking, they're never trying to lie to you. They're never trying to dazzle you. They're always trying to show you something true about things that matter. And I think that that's what that final moment is about.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that he chose at that point of his career, because he wasn't famous at that point. That film made him famous.
Oh, did it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was only known mostly in Poland.
So that brought him to the international community.
But it's interesting at that point in his career is when he became so reflective about what he chose to do with his life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like the end of his career.
Right.
It wasn't even at the middle. It was the beginning.
It was like he's confronting it.
Yeah. The film is basically asking him questions about what he's chosen to do with his life as a filmmaker.
Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Is this gonna tear everybody apart in my life? Is this gonna help me? Is it gonna help anybody else?
What is the benefit? What is the consequence?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. I don't know if you can get much more honest than that
Nope.
with filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean, I am pretty astonished by how contemporary this movie feels. You know, this really feels like something that A24 would put out. I mean, honestly, like the closest thing I can think of to this film in recent memory is, you know, like what was the movie that Joanna Hogg did about her own, The Souvenir.
Okay.
The Souvenir has shades of this. I wouldn't put it, you know, obviously you can't put it the other way around. It's hard to imagine somebody doing a more honest exploration of like what filmmaking means for them. I just haven't seen it yet, I guess. So this feels like a surprisingly contemporary film. Even looks relatively contemporary, and it's not utilizing any special technique in its filming, at least not that I can see.
No. I mean, this guy was able to make a whole film with, how many people do you think are in this film? Maybe 15 total?
Yeah, it's a pretty sparse cast.
Yeah.
And a guy holding an 8mm camera.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great little side bits, you know, like those for no reason, but sort of adds to the feeling of the film.
Yeah.
Those kids riding their bikes.
Okay.
There's a big group of kids riding their bikes in one shot.
Okay.
It's like he's following the subject.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But in the background, there's like a gang of kids just riding their bike on the street. And then he just holds in the kids.
Yeah.
For just a couple seconds.
Yeah.
But just creates an energy, a mood, a feeling of the neighborhood. Like, I don't know what, but it adds.
Yeah.
It doesn't detract. It doesn't feel like, oh, why are we seeing that?
Yeah.
It sort of just naturally, it felt natural. Like, oh, that's just part of the fabric of the movie that we're watching.
Right.
Well, and you alluded to it earlier, Jacques, but I do think that there is a comedy to this film. Maybe it's a comedy of absurdity or whatever it is, but you know, there's this. There are a lot of these situations, and you mostly see it in his reaction to kind of the situations he's been foisted into. I don't feel like this movie is a particularly heavy-handed or deeply grave film. You know, there's definitely a lightness to it at moments that I really appreciated.
I was very impressed by the editing. I mean, it's a long film. It's 2 hours, a full 2 hours. But the way it, from sequence to sequence, from moment to moment, how it jumped forward much farther than you would think it would jump, but you still understood what happened.
Yeah.
So it was like, it wasn't choppy, but it just jumped deeper into the next moment than you would typically see in a contemporary film.
Yeah.
But you still understood everything that happened in between.
Yeah, and they didn't show you like a little chyron that said, you know, 2 years later or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And you don't see things like the formation of his camera club or whatever it is, his filmmaking club, but it feels organic when they are kind of together and working as a unit, you know?
Yeah, things are happening and things are moving forward, especially at the beginning. I was noticing it. Maybe it happened throughout and I was just so caught up in the story, I wasn't really noticing as much, but I noticed at the very beginning, you know, it would just, like for instance, he's carrying his wife,
yes,
and some to because she's about to have a baby to the hospital, and some drunk car comes by and have that little moment where he kind of hides her from the drunk car.
Yeah, right.
And the very next shot, the baby's being born.
Right.
Yeah,
And like you're sort of caught up in the drama of them getting to the hospital, but then that just goes away. And at the hospital, and it just felt perfect.
Yeah.
You know, like
The editing did feel different, but it wasn't different in a bad way. It was different in a good way. I really, I appreciated the way it cut from scene to scene, and sometimes it was a bit startling, and yet it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you almost wonder if some of that is screenwriting editing, or if that is actually things that happen in the editing room.
Exactly. Yeah, I wonder how much might have been improvised in terms of, well, why don't you pick her up and we'll have a car drive by, and because it feels so captured.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it was probably written, but it just feels so genuine and captured in real life that sometimes it feels like they might have come up with something on the spot.
Yeah, you just never know. I mean, that's the magic.
Yeah.
Of filmmaking. Like maybe they had him running the street and some random car came by and they're like, let it come, let it come, let it come.
Right.
And then, dude, can you back it up?
Right.
Who knows? You know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe that's just Kieslowski's early documentary impulses just kind of shining through. It's like, oh, this is happening. Let's run with it. So who knows?
Good. Well, let's mention the editors since we brought it up. Teresa Miziolek and Halina Nauroka. 2 editors, both female and both quite talented.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nailed it,
Did a
ladies.
great job. Yeah.
I'll just talk a little bit about the awards then that it got, because it got quite a few. Moscow International Film Festival Golden Prize won it. Moscow International Film Festival Fipreshi Prize won.
Bam.
It won the Polish Film Festival Best Actor Award for Jerzy Stuhr, and it won the Polish Film Festival Golden Lion Award for Krzysztof Kieslowski. It also won the Berlin International Film Festival Interfilm Award, Otto Dibelius Film Award for Krzysztof Kieslowski, and the 1980 Chicago International Film Festival Golden Hugo. Pretty cool.
Nice.
Jacques, thank you for hanging out with us. I want to ask.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I want to ask you one question about things you've seen recently. 3 things you've seen recently, and they could be old or new, that stuck out to you, that you think, oh, the audience, somebody should check this out. This is pretty good, especially if it's something that maybe people aren't checking out.
That's tough because, you know, it's rare that as I said before, that I see something that just blows me away. And like, oh my God.
Doesn't have to blow you away.
Gotta, everybody has to see this.
Right.
But I was during the holidays, for reasons unknown even to myself, I guess it was the anti It's a Wonderful Life.
Funny you should say that.
Yeah.
I was watching a lot of noir.
Okay.
From the probably same period as It's a Wonderful Life.
Sure.
And there was just a bunch of them that were just awesome. Like, you know, not great films. There's a lot of things you can point your finger at and complain, and it's not, you know, not perfect filmmaking, but
Were you watching the Eddie Muller?
no, actually,
TCM?
I went on the Criterion collections. They have a few collections of noir. They have British noir. They have
Columbia, I think is one.
Gothic noir. Yeah, they have Columbia noir.
Yeah.
And I was just bouncing around from this to that, and I can't even. It'll take me too long to remember exactly what films, but like I would encourage people to go in and look at those. They're dark before their time.
Okay.
Some of them, and it's like if anyone wants to remake, there's some of those that are fairly obscure. Of course, pure noir fans know these films, but the general public does not.
Right.
And they're ripe for remaking because they're dated, you know. And there's a lot of stuff in there that's like the audiences wouldn't respond to now.
Yeah. So check out noir films on Criterion Channel.
Yes.
The curated collections. They've got quite a few. Yeah.
There's a lot of great stuff. And I recommend The Kings of Tupelo on Netflix.
What is that, Jacques?
It's a documentary about the whole ricin scandal, that the ricin tainted letters were sent to politicians, including Obama. And it doesn't start there. It actually starts at the bottom of where this whole thing bubbled up. And I don't want to give away too much because it's the discovery of the various levels is what makes it so fascinating. But it's also just a commentary on madness and truth and, you know, a lot of the issues that we're, you know, dealing with on a societal level now.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jacques. Everything seems fine to me.
Everything's okay. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see.
And it's also just a good story with a lot of good characters.
All right. This episode, sound engineered by Colin Dixon, mixed and edited by William Boudel, produced by William Boudel and Colin Dixon, original music composed by Michael Riola, recorded at Booze Hollywood Dell in beautiful Hollywood, California. If you'd like to contact us with comments, suggestions, or high praise about Jacques' dulcet tones, email us at cosmicmotionshow@gmail.com or send us a voice message at speakpipe.com/cosmic motion. Your writing or audio may be featured on our show. Thanks for joining us on this episode. We want to thank our guest, Jacques Thelemaque.
Thank you. I'm honored to have been here.
Colin, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bill. It's always a pleasure.
We look forward to sharing more thoughts with you on the next one. Until then, keep learning, growing, and creating. Thanks, guys.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
This podcast takes no shortcut in producing outstanding content. How they haven't become more widely recognized is beyond me.
I love this show. Smart commentary, in-depth interviews, and great production.
It's obvious how serious these guys take their podcast and bring that next level of professionalism that anyone would be hard-pressed to match.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.